Hello, everybody. Ravens fans, Oriole fans, thank you for joining us this week here with the Ravery Sports Podcast. For fans like me, like and subscribe to all of our social media content here. Obviously, if you're watching us tonight, you're watching us on our Twitter page, on our Facebook page, on our YouTube channel, and our Twitch channel. So definitely hit the like button on the YouTube channel, on the Facebook, etc. Go ahead and hit that there so we can go ahead and get the engagement going. Go ahead and engage in the comments section. Also, while you're doing it, thinking about Ravery Sports, while we're having this discussion, ravorisports.company.site. It's at the bottom of the screen. If you want to go ahead and buy that gift for your loved one during the holiday season, that Orioles jersey, that Ravens jersey, that Ray Lewis jersey, like the one I'm rocking right now, you could go ahead and go to the comments and go to that website, and you can go ahead and get that. If you live in the Shenandoah Valley, Genesis Notary Services /Facebook, you can go ahead and get that there. So definitely check that out as well. I did put out something today. If you live in Frederick County, Virginia, or if you live in Clark County, running a special for you guys out there in that area. And also, too, one more channel comment here. On New Year's Eve, we're going to upload our best of the year of 2023. So best Oriole, best Raven, best MLB player, that will be going and taking us all the way up into 2023. That will be dropping at 11 o'clock on New Year's Eve. So definitely get a chance to look at that best of the year at the end of the year. So we will go ahead and do that as well. All right, let's get down to the business of football. So let's go ahead and just take this away here. Lots of good stuff here this week. So we got another Ravens victory to talk about. Sunday night football. Ravens finally got a Sunday night game. SoFi is a gorgeous venue to watch a football game on television. I mean, it is. That looks like daggone the Starship Enterprise or something like that, for lack of a better word. I mean, it looks very cool to watch a game in that setting. So definitely very cool to watch a game there. Very cool result we had. Ravens 20-10 over the Chargers, winning over the Los Angeles Chargers. Lots of criticism from the fans this week. Look, I mean, guys, you're 9-3. You won the game. You won a road game. You had to it's take it. It's a win. Now, like I talked about it last week with John Madden. Talked about this is the time of year where you make the run. You put yourself in a position all year to get to Thanksgiving so you can make a run. That's what this is. Forget the style points and all that stuff. It's a W, 9-3, best record in the AFC at the present time. Lamar Jackson, 18 for 32, 177, 1 TD. Had a lot of rush yards in the game. This was an okay performance by Lamar Jackson. No real big problem with it. As far as he was definitely of the two quarterbacks on the field. Once again, he was the better quarterback of the two. Lamar definitely was the most consistent on the game. I would say this, and I think I said this at the React video. The bubble screens to Zay have got to stop. Enough. They're just sitting on the bubble screens. His percentage, his yards per was lower because the Chargers were just waiting on those bubble screens. That's why I think at the end of the game, when Zay got the second touchdown, they went ahead and when they got the second touchdown, they went ahead and did the run, because they were just sitting on those bubble screens. So he's getting more attention, so they got to go elsewhere. This is key now because you don't have your security blanket, Mark Andrews. Keep that in mind. But I thought Lamar was decent enough in this game. Keaton Mitchell was 9 of 64. Again, not enough carries for Keaton Mitchell. I have a little less problem with him sharing with Gus Edwards than I did Justice Hill, simply because they're so different. You can do, I think when you have combinations, I'm not big on these running back combinations, this will work in the sense of you have a super fast guy, hit around the edges, hit the outside, and then you have a Gus Edwards who's more in between tackles, straight line runner. That can work. So I got really no problem with a Keaton Mitchell and a Gus Edwards sharing time as much. But again, only 9 carries. Again, their offense and defense, nobody eats a whole lot. They share and share alike. So certain guys going to get in, certain guys going to get in, then you're going to go in, then you're going to go out, etc. That's the way that's going to go. Isaiah Likely. So he's the man filling in for the great Mark Andrews, the multiple-time Pro Bowler in there. Isaiah Likely. He's different than Andrews. I don't think he has Mark Andrews' physicality. Isaiah Likely is more of in my opinion, a wide receiver playing tight end than I think more than the complete tight end like Mark Andrews is. Mark Andrews is going to make those tough catches. You can split him out wide, obviously, and do something. But I Likely is more of the new age guy, not as physical. You could set him in motion and catch something, but he's more of that. So I think he's Andrew. I think he's not gonna. You're not gonna get the same things you got from Isaiah Likely as you did on Mark Andrews, but I think you're gonna get a lot of good stuff from Isaiah Likely. Jadeveon Clowney had a sack. Jadeveon Clowney, all in all, has been really good this year. I think fundamentally he drives me nuts with all these missed tackles. He just does. Again, he's good for 2 of those every game, where he busts through the backfield and then he misses the tackle on the guy. I mean, but with that, all that being said, he is getting back there. He is mounted, I think, 7 sacks during the year. He's had a good season. So considering the fact that we lost, Ty Spaulding hasn't seen the field. David Ajabo just went out for season-end surgery. Daffy Owe really has been in and out of the lineup. Considering the volume of, okay, you've had to play a guy, Kyle Van Noy, you've had to play Jadeveon Clowney more than you wanted. So this is pretty good stuff overall from them. The Chargers, the opponent in this game. Chargers, how did they do? Justin Herbert, I kind of noticed something. Everybody likes Herbert so much. And I'm not saying he's not good, but he really, to me, I really noticed a difference with him and Lamar Jackson in terms of speed. Whenever he had to speed it up, I'm talking about Justin Herbert, he has issues. Like if he could kind of move deliberately, I noticed a big difference between the speed Lamar moves his offense compared to Justin Herbert. I think that's kind of the thing. And then he drives and then they kind of don't make it. Then he had the drop, the fumble. I think that's why I think that's a one thing that I looked at, I saw rather with Justin Herbert. I think everybody, of course, everything is Brandon Staley's fault, the Chargers. But I really noticed like a considerable difference there in the speed in which he ran his offenses compared to Lamar. So I thought that was very interesting. Stats don't show it. The one interception that really wasn't a big deal. He was just basically a Hail Mary at the end of the path, and they got an interception, and Arthur Mallet picked it off. But I thought all in all, but again, typical Justin performance. Stats decent, they lost 4-7. Austin Eckler, they're not getting on the ball for whatever reason. To me, he looks the same. I mean, I didn't really see a big difference from the Austin Eckler I saw, except the volume is down. He's kind of the modern day Marshall Faulk, in my opinion, either him or Kamara, where they're basically pass catchers along with the running a lot. So they don't come, but again, they didn't use him much. Keenan Allen, I think, had a bad drop in my opinion in this game. It was really cool to see when he did that backward pass to Eckler there. I thought it was a really nice play, but not consistent enough. These are all pretty much the thing with the Chargers I saw. We're talking about Herbert. We're talking about Eckler. We're talking about Keenan Allen. That was pretty much all the bullets they have in their gun. They have a depth issue. They're not strong in a lot of areas. Khalil Mack on defense is kind of the example. Phenomenal night, 2 sacks. Really, Morgan Moses had a horrible time with him during this game. But again, it's not enough. They have pieces, but they don't have a complete team. They're a little different in the sense of they have really, really good pieces. You know, you got guys that are really strong in some areas, but you're not strong enough. Line isn't really good. Defense outside of Mack and Bosa, Derwin James has kind of struggled more this year. He didn't look he looked like a non-factor to me in that last game. So definitely, Ravens were successful. So they have right now the best record in the entire AFC going into this week. They have a bye week this week, so we our next game is against the Rams next Sunday, and we are going to talk about that as well when they actually play the Rams at M&T Bank. So a lot of these games now, this is like at the end. A lot of the fans are worried about the schedule. I'm really not worried about it. A lot of these games are going to be playing. Most of them are at home. So you got the Rams at home, you got the Steelers at home, and you got the not the Jags, and you got the Dolphins at home. So I think they should probably win those games. I mean, those would be tough games, but they should probably win those games. The two road games are going to be difficult, especially at the Niners. I think the Niners are every bit what the Ravens are, but they're very similar. It'll be a very physical game. I'm really looking forward to seeing them play San Francisco in that. But Ravens have a bye, so it's 9-3, and we're gonna go into that game next week. We are gonna go and talk about the Rams when they go ahead and play M&T Bank, former world champions, the Los Angeles Rams. Big five biggest games on the schedule that are not Ravens games. So we are going to go over that as well. We are also going to talk about the game from last week here. A lot of good stuff last week. A lot of big things. I really want to go over the games last week because I think a lot happened in this one. San Fran and Seattle. That was a total wipeout. Thought the Seahawks would have something. They didn't have anything. But the 49ers really, really good. Seattle's offense kind of disappears. We've seen it all season, and this is the case even when they play the Ravens. They kind of disappear against good teams. They do well enough against bad teams, but when they play a really good team, they don't score much. Jacksonville, I've been waiting for them to impress me. I was impressed. They've won 6 straight games on the road. They are good. They are doing something. They're winning tough road games. That was a good team they played in Houston last week. Stroud, the quarterback, right for an upset, and they won the game close. Very impressed with the Jags. I think they finally did sell me on the record. Uh, the Squealers in Cincinnati. They were jumping up and down about 400 yards total that they finally got, which Matt Canada didn't have there. They only scored 17 points. So I would say, though, it was a big game for them because Pickett and then the fans were really going to be on Pickett. Improved. They did. I think if they'd have lost that game to Cincinnati, they'd have had some real problems. Cincinnati's not getting into the playoffs. I don't think they have enough quarterback there. I didn't see anything there. The defense is really issues. Um, they're not out of it eliminated, but I really think unless they can really get it turned around, they're not going to get in. Russell Wilson in Denver and Cleveland last week. That was phenomenal as well. Russell's really turning it around. Look, not a lot of yards. He's like 19th in pass per play. So he's not getting a lot of yards, but he's playing well when they need him to play in the key spots. And everybody keeps showing the highlight in the red zone. It's kind of old school Russ, but what Sean Payton is doing is turning him into Drew Brees. Quick, short stuff, really quick, bubble screens stuff. Get the ball out of the hand quick. That's what pretty much what they're doing in there. Cleveland, Joe Flacco is your hope. Our guy Joe Flacco is your hope. They got no quarterback. As good as their defense is, you're not going to do anything in the play. I mean, they just got. I don't know. I'm still lost why they're not playing PJ Walker. Um, I mean, again, I know he's had some struggles, but at least I see a much better offense with him on the field. They keep trying to play DTR. He's not ready to play. And Buffalo and Philly, I think that was the game of the year. I thought it was awesome. Philadelphia is no joke. Um, they're winning these close games. Hurts is lousy in one half and great in second, and they've been doing that all year. They run the ball very well. They're about as physical team as they do in the league. it's either them or San Fran or Baltimore, the most physical team in the league. Buffalo, they're still pretty good. I think they might get too many losses to get knocked out. But they're obviously you saw it. I mean, they're as good. Josh Allen, all that stuff that stopped, didn't it? That Josh Allen couldn't play. So there you go. Big fight. A lot of stuff happened last week. Big stuff. This week, Thursday night. So both of these teams played on Thursday last week. They're going to play Thursday again. Seeing this a couple years with the Cowboys, where they are getting the Thursday game after the Thanksgiving game. So it kind of works. I know what the league is doing. So they're getting a whole week. So right, so the normal week. So they probably started practicing like on a Monday and then Tuesday, and then they can go ahead and play practicing on Sunday. So it's like a normal week, but they're getting a week early. So they'll get the bye recovery this week, both teams, because they played last Thursday. I don't think the Seahawks score enough points to beat Dallas. Dallas, their offense is disappearing. Geno Smith has been less consistent this year. They don't play nearly as well against good teams. I think the Seahawks actually don't win this game. I like Dallas. Look, Dallas has won against some bad teams, but they've been impressive. They've actually won big by margins. I like Dallas. Dallas, I think they're among the four best teams in the NFC. They're among the four best teams in the NFC. It's Philly and San Fran are at the top. Dallas and Detroit, you could say three or four. I thought that in the preseason. I kind of think that even now, like watching the season. Speaking of Detroit, since you brought it up, the Lions are going to play at the Saints going into New Orleans, and so Lions lost last week. They got beat on Thanksgiving against the Green Bay Packers. Saints lost last week in Atlanta. So both of these teams fighting now for the number one spot in their division. Lions, I think they lost, but I'm not too worried about the Lions. They're pretty much in cruise control. I think there's nobody in that division. I don't think that's going to catch them, even with the loss that they have. I think there's. I just wonder how explosive you're going to be in the playoffs. How much you could do in the playoffs against those other teams we just talked about after the San Francisco and the Down. That's the only concern I have with the Lions. Easily the best team in their division. Saints, come on, guys. Derek Carr has been just not. Here's the crazy part. I still think they win that division, but that was a bad loss against Atlanta. They brought him in to win games like that. Atlanta's got no QB. Carolina's a complete mess. They should be having a bigger margin. They're still fighting. I like Detroit in this game. I think there's nothing I've seen with Carr against these tough defenses that makes me think that he's going to beat the Lions. I think the Lions also too would have lost like that against on a big stage. They're going to want to bounce back. Here's a team on a real roll, the Broncos. Broncos have really been playing well down the stretch. Russell's been getting it done when he needed to. I really have been impressed with Russell. I did not think that Sean Payton would turn him around. 20 touchdowns, I think this is the 4 picks. So good stuff from the Broncos. I think they're kind of simplifying things. I still don't think their offense is great, but they're doing enough. They're doing enough. I don't know if they catch Kansas City. I don't know if they get in, but they're certainly in it. This is also a team that's in it, the Texans. I still think that was a merely missed opportunity for them. So this is really a big one for both teams as far as getting into playoffs. I think the loser of this game may be it's going to be a lot harder for them to get in to the playoffs. I think the Texans have more talent. Stroud has been outstanding. I really like Tank Dell, their receivers. Will Anderson on defense has been solid for them. I like the Texans here. Again, I know the Broncos been on a roll, but I like the Texans. We talked about the Bills and the Eagles might have the game of the year. This might be the most significant in the NFC all season. 49ers and the Eagles are playing in this game. 49ers, I think, might be. At the beginning of the year, I think they're the best team in the NFC. I agree. I think they are, despite the Eagles' record. Eagles are really good. Eagles have come around, though, um, a lot. I don't think, I will say this 10-1 is not an accident. I don't care how you get the wins, how you came by them, etc. I don't, I honestly don't care how you came by them. They're not playing well in these first halves. That's a thing. Some point that's going to catch up to you. I think it catches up to them in this game. I think the 49ers are going to win this game. I think they go into Philly and get a win. Um, I think I don't think there is a more complete team in the NFC. Purdy, I think, is definitely a real quarterback. Brock Purdy has definitely been out better than Jalen Hurts. I think the defenses are very good. I like the Niners. I think they can win this game, and they're absolutely looking forward to it after what happened last year. They're not going to just go past this. Obviously, Eagles. Eagles also, one last thing, a lot of tough games in a row. They've had a lot of difficult opponents here in a row. Sooner or later, keep playing these tough, close games. You know, due to lose one, I think. Uh, Packers victorious on Thanksgiving Day, and going against the Chefs in the frozen tundra Lambeau Field. Uh, a couple of things here. Packers, I think, are what they are. I think Love is what he is. He's been better lately. I mean, that's just fact. I think that's why they're doing better. They won a couple more games. They did. That was a good win against the. That was a good win against the Lions. So that keeps them in playoff contention. Hey, look, NFC 9-8 might get you in. So they're not. They're definitely not out of this thing. I think they definitely are in this as well. Uh, Chefs. Um, I'm getting less and less convinced with the Chefs. I think they're. You got Mahomes. I do think Rasheed Rice is coming along. I do. I was really a guy. I was hoping the Ravens would draft him in the middle rounds. I like Rasheed Rice. I think they have problems. They're not scoring nearly as much as they were, as good as this defense is. And I think the defense is going to be a problem enough for Jordan Love where they win this game. But I think they're more like Philly this year. They're going to win close games. They're not horse racing teams. Uh, I think that's going to be, yeah. I don't think this is the Chiefs we all know this year. They're going to have to win games in a more different fashion going forward. So I like the Chefs in this one at Green Bay. I think it'll be close though. I think this will be a game grinded out, defense, and then less than 40 points total in this. So definitely, I think the Chefs go ahead and get the victory there. Change the lighting here. There you go. All right. So thank you very much. Big Five, definitely go ahead and here's some go ahead and enjoy all the games this weekend with our Big Five. Is it like this big time of year now with the games as well. So definitely key games. It was hard to pick five. There was a lot of good stuff, a lot of key games going on right now. Couple NFL notes I'm going to go over since we don't have another game, so I'm going to go over this a little bit. Frank Reich, former Maryland Terrapins, but a lot of you didn't even know that Maryland used to be a great quarterback school, cranked out several right in a row NFL quarterbacks. Boomer Esiason was one. Frank Reich was one. A long time back, was outstanding Maryland quarterback. Scott Solak, Neil Donald. I mean, they were cranking them out for years in the 80s and 90s. So Frank Reich was fired in Carolina, and they hired a new interim coach. So he didn't make it through his first season. Not just because he's a former Terp. I really kind of felt bad for Frank Reich because from the rumor is, and this came out this week, I'm sure his team put it out that he didn't even want Bryce Young. He wanted Stroud as the quarterback. So a lot of people were saying that during the draft days, like they was even surprised that they took Bryce Young because his style and the type of guy he works with would be more of a CJ Stroud than it is a Bryce Young. So Bryce Young is now going to have a new coach. David Tepper, you're not looking so good, man. You know that something like that would never happen with the Ravens, never happen with the Steelers, never happen with New England. They would never do anything like that. They would never take a quarterback that they didn't want. They would never, owner Steve Bisciotti would never take a quarterback that John Harbaugh didn't sign off on and didn't believe in. You know, you're just asking for trouble with that. The best story of that was I ever heard was when Al Davis wanted Jamarcus Russell and Lane Kiffin, I think, was the coach at the time, didn't want him. Didn't work out. He actually got on a press conference and told him to get over it. And you just, that doesn't work. You can't do that. All right, so that's the thing. I don't think Bryce Young is done. I don't think it's cooked. I think he's definitely got some work to do. One other thing in the NFL this year, scoring is down across the board. I don't have all the stats in front of me, but I can definitely see offenses are not producing. More 13-10 games, more low-scoring games. We're in an era, I think when the 2000 Ravens won, Brian Billick talked about this. How could you win a Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer? Well, what happened, and this is paraphrasing what he said. Look, John Elway had just retired. Dan Marino had just retired. Steve Young had just retired. And really the next generation of Peyton Manning, Brady, things like that, those guys were still coming up, were still coming in, and it hadn't happened yet. And I think right now we're kind of in that same space of quarterbacks. So what's happening is, okay, Tom Brady just retired. Aaron Rodgers is pretty much is done. You got a lot of great quarterbacks now that the older generation guys, Matt Ryan just retired, etc. Rivers, that Roethlisberger, a lot of those guys. And now we're still waiting on those next group here. Maybe you got a Caleb Williams coming in. Now you still got good quarterbacks. Obviously, you got Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, all that, etc. But we're kind of in that area of, you know, the quarterback play is kind of lean a bit, you know, because you had a lot of those long-standing guys retire, and you still have a lot of young guys coming up. This great quarterback draft coming up. Off season, we're definitely going to talk draft as well, NFL. All right, let's shift gears to a college basketball game that's going to happen. So you look at the Terps record, 4-3. So they didn't start out so good this year. They lost to Villanova. They lost to Davidson. They lost to Davidson. They lost to Alabama. And then they lost to Davidson. They lost to Villanova. And so they had two bad losses in there as well. So they lost 3 games here so far, and now they're going to play their first Big Ten game against the Indiana Hoosiers. This is the heartland of hoops. Fitting that they're playing a game this year after we just lost the great Bobby Knight. Here, how do the Terps look so far? So in these last 3 games, they have beaten UMBC, Rider, South, not so good teams, but I think what they have done is found kind of their stride, found kind of their identity. Jameer Young has been much better in these last 3 games. He really, I thought, struggled out the gate. They have to have him be their guy. I think they kind of realize that this is, hey, we need the ball in his hands as much as possible if we're going to go ahead and score. He's had 22-point game his last game, 15 points, 0.9, 4.3 rebounds, 2.9 assists. They've kind of figured out, okay, we got to move back to that. I think he was kind of sharing in the first game. Their center, Julian Reese. This is going to be, it looks like from what I've been seeing, their other scorer on this game. I see him there now, Juju. They're using the moniker Juju. Juju is really playing well. He had 22 points in the game against Rider, 15.9. I wonder which one of those two possibly would step up and break out between him and Dante Scott. It's clearly Julian Reese is the guy. More touches in his hand, see more plays for him. He's not just now this year where last year he was more of a guy, a complimentary guy. Now he's more stepping up his offensive game. Poor stuff is being run through him. So I think this is what they're going to do throughout the course of the year. Use Julian Reese a lot in this one as well. So Julian Reese is they're going to be their, I think, their number two scorer. Go to the future. DHS, Deshaun Harris Smith, freshman. I do think though they've kind of stepped him back a bit. Jamie Kaiser, we thought we were going to see. I think we're going to see him. I think he started the one game, but I think the problem he's having is he's pretty much the same as not a good version yet of Jameer Young. Jameer has to have the ball to be more effective, and they're going to need those points to score. So he has. I would say this about this guy: great all around game. The Terp he reminds me of, he's a little bit small as like a Keith Booth. He doesn't need to score to be really effective. He can kind of do other things. He's going to get you some steals. He's like 5 rebounds for a guy his size. So good all around game. I think that's probably going to be the formula for him as far as that goes, as far as getting that squared away. The other side, the Hoosiers, led by head coach Mike Woodson, who was the worst NBA coach I ever saw. He was terrible with the Knicks. I mean, just awful NBA coach. So I was actually surprised, but good for him. He's here in Indiana. He's got a good program. He's got a outstanding center, Khalil Ware, 17.7 points a game, dominant guy. This is probably the only guy I think in the conference, one of the few that can match up with Zach Edey. Definitely can do that. 17.7 points a game. They're going to run a lot through him. I think this is going to be the focal point of the Maryland defense. To see him go against Julian Reese in this game on Friday is going to be very interesting. Much watch stuff that you have. Malik Raynal, this is a bit of a surprise that he's scoring so much, but he's been outstanding here at the start. So let's see how Maryland handles him on the defensive end. So their strength is inside. They're a big team. This is not what you see a lot of times with a lot of these teams now, where a lot of guard play. They're packing it in here. They have good size on this Indiana team. Xavier Johnson, I think, is also pretty dangerous. I like the way he handles the ball. Very good. He's one of these guys. He handles the ball. You better be, you better have drunk some Gatorade or something, because he is going to handle the ball very well. He scores. I really like his kind of like De'Aaron Smith. Good floor game. Good game at the old school term, floor game. Floor game means like he does everything well. He's not just a volume scorer, but he does several things on the court well. So I think those are the three guys, the main guys here on for Indiana. I think the Terps do win this game. I think they're as good as Indiana. I think the Terps. I think it took them a couple games to figure it out. I think they absolutely have a shot to win this game. It'll be a challenge because it's a tough road game. Indiana, I don't think has the quicks to beat Maryland. I think Maryland is going to have to. I don't think they're going to have an answer for Jameer Young. I like the Terps in this one. I think the Terps win. I think by good margin in this one. I think the Terps win by 10 points. I think they horse race them. I like the Terps in this one. They win. So there you go. Terps over. I think they win the game against Indiana. So definitely check that out. FS1, I don't think that's right. It's Big Ten Network. If you want to watch that game on Friday night, definitely I'll be checking it out, of course. Watching the game on the Big Ten Network. Watching the Terps play in the heartland of hoop. Terps have another winning season under Mike Locksley. They make it official 42-24 over the record Scarlet Knight, Graciano and Scarlet Knights. I don't know. This was if that's his last game as a Maryland Terp. I don't know if he's going to play in the bowl game or skip it, whatever. That was as good a game as I ever saw from the quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. Perfect. perfect, as good as you can. I no negative from him. Absolutely gorgeous. I thought he was good on every way you could be good. Threw the ball downfield more, threw it down the field accurately. Ty Felton had a tremendous game. I thought it was excellent offense by them. So I thought last week I thought the defense was better. This week I thought the offense was much better. Good work by the Terps, getting into a bowl game. So that's 7-5. Rutgers, they're going to wind up at a bowl too, barely 6-6, but they're going to get in. We are going to find out next week for sure what game the Terps are going to be in. So we're going to have some conference championship games this week, announcement of the bowl championship series, and therefore they're going to find out. This is obviously too will be the last year of college football as a 4-team playoff. So next year, I believe in 2024, they are going to the 12-team playoff. Thank God. I'm so sick and tired of 4 games, the bowl system, and all that. That's so outdated. So I'm glad they're actually going to finally have a playoff in 2023. So there you go. Terps, outstanding stuff. So let's shift gears, since you brought it up. So we're going to talk a little MLB here for the rest of the stream, and we're going to talk Orioles here. So usually we do this during the season, but we're going to do this in the off season. We're going to talk a little MLB at the end as well here. Talk a little Orioles. Orioles have reportedly made an offer to, I don't want to say this right, the Japanese pitcher, Usawa. I think I'm pronouncing that right. He is one of the 3 guys that's posting from the Japanese league. So Orioles reportedly have made a multi-year deal offer to him to go ahead and pitch for the Orioles. I could actually see this one. And some people probably might be out there just rolling out, oh, they're not going to make a multi-year deal. Well, I think this is a guy that's not the number one guy. I don't think there'll be as much. I could see a Koji Uehara type deal because they kind of did that years ago. I think like something like 5 years, 15 million. I can see that. I think definitely something like that, 5 million, 6 million. I think they feel like sometimes these Japanese guys, you can get a good starter, you can get them cheap. So I do believe that they made an offer. I don't know if that's true or not, but I could absolutely see the Orioles actually doing that, making an offer like that. Whether he takes it or not, I have no idea. It's tough to tell with these Japanese players, but we're going to talk more about free agency here in a second. But I absolutely believe that. That's why I'm reporting. I believe the Orioles probably would make an offer like that. Maybe a 2-year, $10 million, 2 years or less, something like that. I can see that. I can absolutely see that offer like that if they can get away with that. Now, whether he takes it or not, I don't know. Trade block. I've heard it over and over that Cedric Mullins and Anthony Santander could be on the trade block. Santander, I think, is going to happen. I don't think they're going to pay him $12 million, especially if they know he's not going to be there with too many guys. Also, too, you got Colt Kauser and Heston Kjerstad knocking on the door. I don't think things like that. Cedric, I think, could garner more interest. I haven't heard that name quite as much, but I think Cedric could get more. I think there'd be more teams maybe interested in him. I think it's possible you trade both too. I don't think that's out of the realm. I mean, you're certainly not going to sign extensions. I mean, it's the Orioles. So why would we want to sign good players? So they would. They're definitely. I think it's definitely on the trade block. We're going to have it here soon. We're going to know soon. I'd be if either one of these guys sign, it'll be for less than market. I think if he agrees to like $8 or $7 million, I think he'll stay, which I don't think he's going to do. I don't know why he would do that. Or I think the same could be true with Mullins. I think one or both could be on the block. I don't think both of these guys stay. I'd be surprised if that was to happen. Felix Bautista wins the reliever of the year. So I think this is incredible. I don't think there was any question about it. I think really it's a tragedy. Obviously, he got hurt, so he's not going to play at all next year. But also, too, I really think he could have won Cy and would have had he stayed healthy. but he missed the last month. I think that kind of took him out of the Cy Young category. So that's why I don't think they're going to give him they can give him Cy Young. But this is easy. There was no question about it. There was nobody better than Felix Batista in the majors out of the bullpen. He was phenomenal all season long. No question about it. I got no problem with that. Orioles games, saw this come out in the Baltimore Banner. Credit them. Orioles games 6:30 on weeknights, 7:05 on Friday, 4:05 on Saturday, and 1:35 on Sunday. So that's going to be when you're actually going to watch games. I saw a news article years ago that this country now is turning into early birds. Nobody likes to stay out late anymore. People try and do stuff earlier. People try and work from home. We stay home more. We leave earlier. You know, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Even young people don't do it the way they used to. This is running into that. Like the game at 7:35, which I don't think is that late for a baseball game, especially when you got shorter games. Yeah, you know, people want to. What they're trying to do is keep people downtown or coming through downtown and keep them later, so they can leave earlier. So the games now aren't 3.5 hours. So at 9 o'clock you're done. You're trying to get people in and out of there. 7 o'clock on Friday, people might hang out. That seems to be the one night where people hang out. 4:05 on Saturday, I got no beef with that. People hang out again, and that's a remnant. 1 o'clock, 1:35 on Sunday. I'm for me personally, I'd rather have these games a little bit later, but that's just me. But I don't go to as many games. The schedule is to draw people to the yard, not for people like watching on TV. Because I rarely go to games anymore. Winter meetings will run from the 3rd to the 6th baseball winter meetings. So that kind of transitions into our next segment about the free agency. But I can tell you, stuff is starting to happen. Stuff is going to happen at the winter meetings. Let's see how active the Orioles are. If they are active with anything, you will definitely see it at the winter meeting. Certainly, a lot of teams are going to be active at the winter meetings. And so that leads us into our discussion on MLB free agency. So definitely we're going to go here and talk about. We're not going to be able to get to everybody as far as free agents, but we are going to talk a little bit about free agency, what's going to happen here the next few weeks with Major League Baseball as far as free agency. It's harder than football because football, essentially everything happens pretty much immediately, right? Yeah, football free agency, it opens, and then the first 3 days is pretty much done. All the signings that happen. Baseball is a slow burn. Certain teams are going to be in stuff. Certain teams aren't going to be in stuff. Whole league is open. Certain teams can afford guys. Certain teams can't afford guys. That's basically how this goes. So let's look at the catchers list. The offensive inventory is enormously thin, in my opinion. There isn't a lot of offense for teams to get on free agency. That's why I think Juan Soto to the Yankees is happening. That's why I think a Dylan Cease trade is happening. I think that's going to happen for the White Sox. There's going to be guys, offensive guys, where I think trades are going to have to happen if you really want to improve your team. However, there are guys that you can add on these lists to teams that will help. So let's go over that as well. Mitch Garver for the Rangers. I think he's the number one catcher. 33 years old. I think the move for him is to go to like a Yankees or veteran team that's actually looking for some catching or something like that. I think for him or to stay in Texas, I don't think it serves you any good for him to go to like a bad team or anything like that when you're this age. Gary Sanchez, we've seen this name a lot. Good offensive catcher, can't field. That's not going to work nowadays. That's the problem. Although he did have a better offensive year, I don't think there's too much interest in him with the way baseball now with the pitch clock and the runners having a middle catcher. I don't know if that works. I would say a team that uses him as a DH be much more attractive. The last three, Todd Murphy, Victor Catalina, Grim and Yasmir Grandal. Kind of I put them in the same category. Complementary guys. They could go if they go to really good team contending teams like Atlanta or Houston or something like that. They're probably bench players. If they go to bad teams, they probably go ahead. They probably continue to start. The best bet I think for a bunch of those guys is to resign with those teams. First base is very interesting. Russ Hopkins, I think, is a very underrated player. He didn't play at all last season. So I think he's definitely available. I think he's definitely one of the best offensive players on this list. I think if he stays healthy, he can really help somebody. I don't think Philly's going to resign him because they played Bryce Harper there. I think Bryce Harper is going to stay there. So you wonder what type of spot is available for him there. I don't think there is one. I think he signs with a different team. Hey, you could be getting a guy here, 20 home runs, 80 RBIs, consistent, not super old, 31 years old. He's definitely got a few years ahead of him. So this could be a sneaky good signing for somebody. Justin Turner was really good with the Red Sox. I'm thinking he goes back to the Dodgers. I think he's listed here as first base. He might play some first base. I think he's a DH, 39 years old, kind of similar with Carlos Santana. I think he's going to DH for somebody. I think not quite as good as a Justin Turner or a Russ Hopkins, but somebody, a contributing guy that can help you. I think another guy who might go back to his team that he had before, Brandon Belt. It wouldn't shock me at all if the Giants re-signed him, that he could go back there, do a little DH, do a little first base for him. CJ Crone, I think he's a bench player for somebody. I think he can go and help somebody on a team, put him in the top 5 as well. More of a contributor than an actual starter. Whit Merrifield, second base for the Blue Jays. I think Merrifield is one of the probably the best offensive player out there at second base. I could absolutely see him going to like the Cubs. That's something I can absolutely see. A guy here that can help you right away, put him right next to Darby Swanson. I don't know if that's going to happen. Or New York. I could see that. Yankees, I could see taking a shot at this guy. You know, they have some infielders as well. Our old friend, Adam Frazier, at the top. Look, Adam Frazier, I think, had his best season with the home run. He can start for somebody. I don't think that. I think that's what's gonna. That's why I think he won't be back in Baltimore. He absolutely can go ahead and start for somebody. Solano for the Twins. I don't think there's a spot for him in Minnesota. I think probably this is more of a contributing player at this point. 36. Colton Wong, up and down. Don't know what you're getting with Colton Wong. I think you saw it last year with the Dodgers. He was a guy, you put him on a good Dodgers team, didn't play as much, etc. Tony Kemp is going to sign with somebody. This is what you call a locker room guy. This is a guy that's definitely going to help a locker room leadership. I can definitely see the Orioles, like, for instance. You want a guy that's not expensive, that can help you. That's somebody like that, Tony Kemp. But more of a defensive guy. Not going to hit it all, but defensive guy. Matt Chapman, I think, is probably the best offensive player on this list, maybe in all the positions. Matt Chapman, not his best season last season. Absolutely, I think a guy that's going to change your offense. Probably the best third baseman, one of the best third basemen in all of baseball. 31 years old. Definitely could see him with a very lucrative 3-year deal. I'm not so sure the Blue Jays don't resign him, but it's going to be expensive if they do. So definitely Chapman going to get a lot of interest from a lot of teams. Absolutely anybody looking for a third baseman would want Matt Chapman. Candelario for the Cubs, I think he's going to be the consolation prize. Whoever's interested in Matt Chapman and doesn't get him, I think he's going to be the guy they're going to go look at as well. The next 3 guys, I think, are glue guys. Evan Longoria, so many years, the backbone of that Tampa Bay franchise. Mike Moustakas for the Angels, another glue guy, so many years. Not last year with the Angels, so many years with the Royals. And Gino Ursula, with the Angels as well last year. Contributing guy, I think he can help somebody. I think in the right situation, he can go ahead and get you some offense and defense. Tim Anderson, I think easily the best shortstop on this list. Definitely signs with another team. I think the White Sox, they're totally going to clean house. Um, Another sneaky good acquisition. I kind of put him in the Russ Hackers category. Somebody might be getting somebody that's really going to be a stud to help them if you're getting Tim Anderson. So definitely, I think a good season last season. Brandon Crawford with the Giants may call it a career, may come back. I think he resigns with the Giants if he goes anywhere. Javier Baez, I think, interesting to see. Kind of came back a little bit, but so disappointing for so long. Uh, I don't think he gets anything more than a 1 or 2 year deal. Ahmed Rosario and Kiki Hernandez kind of contributing guys. I don't think they're getting a starting shortstop job. I don't think, unless it's a bad team, maybe the Royals or the A's or something like that if they really want to start. All right, let it begin. I have him in the outfield, Shohei Ohtani, because he's not going to play at all next season as a pitcher. So I think I've seen so many people not trying to factor that in. That factors in. He's not going to pitch at all next year. I think it's Boston. If I had to put money on it, which I wouldn't put my money on it, I think it's Boston or New York Yankees. I think Boston really needs pitching bad. They need offense as well. I definitely think there's a spot for him. I think this is part of why maybe they're not bringing back Justin Turner. They got their eyes on Ohtani at the DH spot. I don't know how much outfield he plays next year because of the arm injury, but I definitely think he's in on it. I think definitely you take him, period. This guy's the greatest player, uh, one of the greatest player, maybe one of the top 10 of all time, Shohei Ohtani. He's that good. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be able to afford him. And to be fair, he should command a lot of money. He should be. I mean, if I'm him, 400 million. I mean, what are you talking to me for? Bellinger, I think, is the reigning current most improved player from last season. Bellinger, I think, is the other guy. I think that is going to be an enormous contributor. I think Chicago signs him. The Cubs. I think the Cubs are really going to look at this guy and really want to go ahead and sign him and re-sign him. I thought he was very good last year. Here's a guy who's kind of the reason he doesn't have a contract is because he wasn't playing well. Really turned it around. So good for him. Lee from Korea, definitely an outfielder as well. Definitely you got to take a shot on this guy. I think a lot of these Japanese outfielders really play well. I think it's a big step down, obviously, from the first two, but I think he definitely could contribute and start on most major league teams. Gurriel for the Diamondbacks, I think he possibly resigns with them. Definitely, I think he's more a contributing player. I think a team that loses somebody really is going to take a look at him. I don't think he's an immediate sign. Jorge Soler, I have, again, as an outfielder, I think he's probably a DH. He's going to play some outfield, but hey, a lot of home runs last year. Everybody wants that. Everybody wants 30 plus home runs. Definitely, you're going to draw interest from somebody when you hit as many home runs. Starting pitching. Here we go. I don't have Ohtani here. I'm sure a lot of teams are looking at Ohtani, so he's kind of 1 and 1A as well. I don't have him on this list because he's not going to pitch. Blake Snell is out there. I think Blake Snell has been phenomenal under the radar. I think he's kind of got overshadowed with the Padres with Darvish. Snell has been outstanding, I think, for them. The Padres don't keep him. He's going to be way too expensive. If they're cutting payroll, you're not going to be able to afford a Blake Snell. Yamamoto from Japan. Everybody wants this guy for great reason. Look, when you're 25 and this talented, there's no way a team doesn't take it. I think this is the Dodgers here. I think the Dodgers really try and push hard. They need pitching bad. We will see what happens, but I like the Dodgers. These two have already happened. Sonny Gray signed a 3-year with the Cardinals. Rumor is Orioles put it. Yeah, right. Put a bid in. I think they probably. I could believe they thought he was only going to get a 1-year deal because he's like 34. Up, good last year, but I could believe that. Cardinals, I mean, I love it. They didn't waste any time. They signed Gibson. They already signed Kyle Gibson. They already signed Lance Lynn. They didn't waste any time. They didn't goof around. Aaron Nola re-signed with the Phillies. much longer deal. Like I think it was 7 years. So good for him. Phillies had to keep the top two guys together. That makes total sense. Jordan Montgomery made himself a lot of money in the playoffs. Very, very good stuff from Jordan Montgomery. He's going to get a deal similar to the top five. This is, I think, after Montgomery, I think the deals drop off. Marcus Stroman is pretty good. He's going to get a multi-year deal as well. I don't think it's with the Cubs. I think the Dodgers and Red Sox are going to be looking at a lot of these pitchers and spending money. Former Orioles minor leaguer Eduardo Rodriguez is going to go ahead and sign with somebody. I don't think he stays with the Tigers, and they're going to give him a deal. Lucas Giolito, former Nationals farmhand as well, big prospect at one time. Don't know what you're getting with Lucas. I don't see he gets past a one-year deal. Michael Wacha, I think, has been better than people think his whole career. He's at 9. Upside isn't great, but I think he's a good, solid 2-3 starter. Lastly, relief pitching. The cream of the crop is Josh Hader. This is going to be a lot of money. It's going to cost somebody to get Josh Hader. Josh Hader is fantastic. The other guys I have on the list I think are very interesting. Now, this is actually an area I do think the Orioles might look at. The relief pitching. Craig Kimbrell, Will Smith, David Robertson, or Aroldis Chapman. I don't think these guys are going to be that expensive. What Hader is, multi-year deal, lots of money, of course, because he's, I think, the best closer in the National League, probably the best, maybe the best closer not named Felix Bautista. Other than that, I think these other guys, I think they can be had for less than $5 million, 1-year deal, and I think they would be a good closer candidate for the Orioles if they were actually signed. I don't think it'll be too costly. I think the Orioles might do it. I do think there'll be a lot of teams interested in these guys here. So this is my top 5 here as far as closers. All right. So real quick, Orioles in the offseason. We're hoping for more. We know about the Angelos family. We know how they operate. We know how they do things. But we're hoping that we can get a little bit more than we've been getting. So let's see. Let's just, as fans, hope that it happens. I don't think it will. I'm not going to lie to you guys. But we're hoping that we can get more from the Angelos family this year as far as resources and getting that squared away. So thank you very much for joining us this week on our Bravery Sports podcast, the Baltimore Sports Podcast for fans like me. Like and subscribe to the video. Definitely check out our website here for the holiday season, ravorisports.company.site. Thank you, and you have a great rest of your